I want to take a moment and send out a heartfelt condolence to one of our best listeners and supporters, Tom Williams from Germany. Tom has provided us with many personal stories and has become a friend. He recently sent me an email about the passing of his beloved wife of 52 years, Sue. To Tom, I say, you're in my thoughts and prayers. I know that this is a sad time for you, but know that we here mourn your loss. God bless you, Tom, and thank you. Hello and welcome to the podcast. This is Ron's Amazing Stories, where we play tales to take you away from today. On the show today, we are packed.
Are you going somewhere?
Not that kind of packed, you knothead. I mean, we have stuff.
Alrighty then. Jolly good.
We have stuff from Alan Ladd, stuff from Frankenstein, and brand new stuff I call Johnny, Is It True?
God bless the Queen. That is amazing.
No, that's Ron's Amazing Stories.
And a 5-minute mystery?
Why, yes, Sir Colville. We have one of those, too.
Another 5-minute mystery.
This 5-minute mystery is being brought to you by Saying Too Much. Like Pelosi did, setting a record with an 8-hour marathon speech on DACA. You have to know when you've said too much. Learning this can be a treat to your enemies and keep you out of jail.
Midnight. A penthouse on one of Manhattan's skyscrapers, owned by wealthy Roger Hammond. In the dim light of his library, Hammond studies a group of papers on his desk. Then comes a knock on the door.
Come in. Who is it? I can't see you in this blasted darkness, so come in. What do you want? You've got a gun. In heaven's name, don't point that thing at me. Stop it, do you hear? Stop it!
Come in, Mrs. Hammond.
Thank you, Inspector Mills. I flew back from Uruguay as soon as I got your telegram.
Will you sit down?
Roger's death is the most shocking thing that's ever happened to me. Who could have done this awful murder?
I wish I knew, Mrs. Hammond. Of course, we'll do everything we can. Now, there are a few questions I'd like to ask. Merely routine, of course.
Anything I can tell you, Inspector.
This friend of your husband, Stanley Macon, was there any friction between them?
Oh, no, never. They were the best of friends.
Macon was alone at his hunting lodge in Maine when the murder occurred.
And I was so far away. If only I'd been here.
Exactly why did you go to Uruguay, Mrs. Hammond?
Business for Roger. And because I'd never been to South America, he thought it'd be a kind of vacation for me.
Mm-hmm.
Been there only 2 days when I received your wire telling me what happened.
Yes. Do you mind telling me what your plans are? Will you take over Mr. Hammond's enterprises?
Oh, I don't know. I suppose so. I haven't been able to think of anything these last few days. So hard to believe he's gone. Then I suppose I was warned of it in a way.
What do you mean?
Well, it's one of those things that's hard to explain. A terrible presentiment I had. One evening in Uruguay, the night of his murder.
Tell me about it.
It's really nothing, Inspector.
In murder, everything is important, Mrs. Hammond.
I'd gone for an automobile ride, all alone. The moon was shining very brightly, and I was speeding, I'm afraid. But I'm a careful driver. I always keep far to the right. And that night I made a point of it because I was speeding. Well, suddenly, in the center of the right lane, I saw the figure of a man. I slammed on the brakes, and I was terrified to see in the headlights that the man was Roger. I swerved and ran the car off the road and stopped.
You must have been terribly frightened.
Oh, I was. But I climbed out and ran back to the highway, and on the whole stretch of road, there wasn't anybody at all. And I could see clearly in the moonlight. I know you won't believe me.
You're right, I don't. Because you're lying, Mrs. Hammond.
Lying? Why, what do you mean?
I mean you were never in Uruguay at all. And I'm going to hold you for questioning and perhaps for murder.
What was the clue that made Inspector Mills know Tony Hammond was not telling the truth? In a moment we'll hear, but first...
Well, what do we have here? Of course, we don't have a motive other than a forced vacation and a lame story about driving in Uruguay. We do know that Hammond was shot because, well, we were there. Other than that, this 5-minute mystery is being brought to you by Saying Too Much.
And now, the solution to our mystery.
Mrs. Hammond stayed behind in New York, killed her husband, and supposedly returned from South America to tell me about her strange presentiment. She said she was driving on the right side of the road, though I knew she couldn't have been to Uruguay, or she'd have known that Uruguay is the only country in the Western Hemisphere where driving on the left still prevails.
It's true. Most former British colonies still drive on the left side of the road. However, in Uruguay, they do in fact drive on the right. Also, our policemen incorrectly stated that they were the only country to do so in the West. Not true. Jamaica, Guyana, and Suriname all drive on the left. If the lie fits, you must acquit. This 5-minute mystery was brought to you by Saying Too Much.
Johnny, is this true?
Okay. I like to surf the internet looking for stories and other oddities. I do this in the name of the podcast, but the truth is it's fun to see what's out there. What you're about to hear is a test or a pilot for a segment I'm thinking about for the show. Strange but true has been done to death, so I'm going to call this simply
Johnny, is this true?
I will tell you a story and then ask the question, did I make this up or is it true? Let's get started. Margaret Bell was a beekeeper. She kept her pet swarms 7 miles from her home in Ludlow, Shropshire, England. She died in June of 1994. Soon after her funeral, mourners were amazed to see hundreds of bees settle on a corner of the street opposite the house where she had lived for 26 years. The bees stayed for about an hour before buzzing off over the rooftops. Is this story true? If you said true, you got it right. It is confirmed with photographs which the local press ran of the bees hanging in a cluster on the wall. Eyewitness reports also confirm the story and when the bees were followed back to their hive. Now, could this just be a coincidence? Sure, but it sure is a strange one. On December 11, 2002, 2 motorists called the police to report seeing a car veering off the road with headlights blazing directly in front of them. First responders found nothing. However, after a thorough search, they uncovered a car concealed in dense undergrowth with a long-dead driver inside. It turned out that the crash had actually happened some 5 years earlier. Christopher Chandler had been reported missing by his brother, but had never been found. Phantom driver or fake story? Well, I can't answer the ghost part, but the story is reported as the truth. June Michaels of San Jose, California, was out hiking with her dog. She fell down an embankment and was trapped. She told the dog, which was still safe and sound, to go get help. The dog ran off and went directly to the police department some 8 miles away. The police found the dog annoying and called animal control. They tried to apprehend the animal, but simply couldn't catch it. In the end, the dog led the officers directly to the trapped woman, and she was rescued. Now, did this story happen? Well, if you said it did, then I fooled you. I made this one up all by myself. Harry James, the famous band leader of the 30s and 40s, was reported to be in Roswell, New Mexico during the famous 1947 UFO incident. He and his band, the Music Makers, were playing at a club there. When the news broke, he and his lead trumpeter were the first on the scene. When asked if he saw anything, he reported that the place had been picked clean, but that he had managed to get a strange piece of metal for himself. Now, is this true? Nah, I made that one up too. In 1947, Harry James and his band broke up, but shortly after, he reorganized it and was active again until his death in 1983. Gotcha. Our last story comes from jolly old England. Laura Buxton released a helium-filled balloon during the celebrations for her grandparents' gold wedding anniversary in June of 2001. Attached to the balloon was her name, address, and a note asking the finder to write back. 10 days later, she received a reply. The balloon had been found by another Laura Buxton in her garden 140 miles away. Oddly, both girls were 10 years old, had a 3-year-old black Labrador, a guinea pig, and a rabbit. Too much coincidence, or is this one true? Well, it is verifiably true. Probably just an amazing coincidence, but oddly true. That's all the stories I have for you this time. Please let me know if you think this would be a good segment for the show. If you hated it, I want to hear that too. After all, why do a thing if you hate a thing? I said that. And now it's time for this. Our OTR story has the feel of a classic Western. It also benefits greatly by the stellar performance of Alan Ladd. What we have is an episode from the classic series, Suspense. It's sort of a revenge Western without the revenge part. The hero doesn't want to kill his brother's murderer, but instead bring him to justice in a courtroom. A novel approach. The tale is called A Killing in Abilene and first aired on December 14, 1950.
Autolite and its 96,000 dealers present Suspense. Tonight, Autolite brings you A Killing in Abilene, a suspense play starring Mr. Alan Ladd.
I traveled hard for 300 miles to find the man who killed my brother. I'd come down out of the Snake Range that morning, followed the river trail through the canyon, and that afternoon had found Pleasant Valley. A handful of buildings, desolate and huddled in the cold shadows of the mountains around. Tall, dark. No man appeared as I rode through the town. Only a dog challenged, and he from a safe distance. Then it was quiet. About a quarter of a mile beyond an easy rise, I saw what had happened to the people of the town. There were maybe 60 or 70 standing in a circle. And as I got closer, I saw they were gathered around two men. Two men who were digging. You stay put, horse. There was a look on the faces of the people standing there. Even the kids peeking from behind skirts and trouser legs. And it was something I'd seen before. It wasn't a good look. It was the look some people had had 2 years before in Abilene, when we discovered my brother's body.
In just a moment, Mr. Alan Ladd in the first act of A Killing in Abilene.
Say, Harlow, you ever play football?
Oh, what a question to ask quarterback Wilcox, spark-plug of the squad.
The what?
Spark-plug. Why, as quarterback, I gave my boys tremendous enthusiasm. Just as new ignition-engineered Autolite spark plugs give a motor with worn-out spark plugs quick starts, smooth performance, and gas savings.
Were you world famous?
Well, no, Hap, but ignition-engineered Autolite spark plugs are world famous for quality and dependability.
You call the signals too, Harlow?
Of course, and our team clicks perfectly, just like Autolite spark plugs. The spark plugs that are ignition-engineered to work as a perfect team with your car's ignition system. Autolite spark plugs, you know, have passed rugged laboratory and field tests to win selection as original factory equipment on millions of cars and trucks. So, friends, see your neighborhood Autolite spark plug dealer soon and have worn-out spark plugs replaced with new ignition-engineered Autolite spark plugs for smooth performance, quick starts, gas savings. And whether you choose the standard type or the resistor type, you can't buy better spark plugs for your car because you're always right with Autolite.
And now, with the Killing in Abilene and the performance of Mr. Alan Ladd, Autolite answers many requests in bringing you a story of the Old West, hoping once again to keep you in suspense.
Hold up a minute.
What's the matter?
I hit something.
Wait. Better go slow. Dig around this side. Here, I can't do it anymore. One of you boys take over.
I'll do it, Jim. Somebody's got to. It's him, all right. I seen his shirt.
You were right then, Ben. Jake Garvey, you're a sheriff. Better come take a look.
Yeah.
That's him. That's Fred Costin, all right.
The other women folk led her away. The men stayed and pushed in a little closer to the pit and waited there until the job was finished. Then they noticed me.
What are you doing here, stranger? Where are you from?
You're the sheriff?
That's right. Jake Garvey.
Amanda's my name, from Abilene.
So?
I'm looking for a man in these parts. Calls himself Lee Burridge.
Who did he say, Sheriff?
He said Lee Burridge, Ben.
You tell him we'll take care of him.
What do you want him for?
What's it matter what he wants him for? We know what we want him for. Come on.
Now, there ain't gonna be no trouble. I'm the law in Pleasant Valley. I'll say what we do.
We elected you, Sheriff Jake. We could unelect you. Like Ben said, it was Burridge killed him, and you know it.
I've got to talk to you about Burridge, Sheriff. It's important.
All right. My office back of the meeting house.
We don't need no talk about Burridge. We need to do something about the ugly son.
Come down, boys. Let's get on back to town. We'll take her as she comes. Smoke?
No, thanks.
Mm-hmm. The boys want to know why you're here. So do I. We don't like strangers. What do you want with Lee Burridge?
I had a brother. Killed out in Abilene. Burridge did it.
Oh?
He and another one drove a herd into the railroad. Burridge got drunk and killed my brother. Buried him same as here. We found this pouch near the grave. His name burned into it. It's taken me 2 years to find him. Now I want to talk to him about it.
The boys are pretty sure he killed Fred Costin, too. So am I now.
Maybe so. Fred Costin isn't my business. My brother is. And I want to see his killer back in Abilene standing trial. I made a promise I'd bring him back, that there'd be no more killing.
We didn't know your brother, but we knew Fred and we liked him. You can help take care of Burridge here if you have a mind to.
Try him here, you mean? On both charges?
No need for that.
Now, what do you mean, take care of him?
How did he kill your brother?
His head was beat in. He was beat to death.
Yeah, same as he did to Fred. Man who'd do a thing like that don't need no trial.
Not for you, maybe. But there'll be no more killing in my family. We'll give him a fair trial here in Abilene. But a fair trial.
If Burridge done these killings, he's going to pay for it here.
I don't go for lynching.
We don't call it lynching when we hang a man for murder. If you don't like it, go on back to Abilene.
Maybe I'll do that. When I take Lee Burridge out for trial.
I don't know what you're trying to do. I suspect it's get Burridge out of town. If I'm right, you're heading into a lot of trouble.
Let's go get him, Ben. About time. Hold it.
One of you boys going to direct me to where Lee Burridge lives?
We could, if we felt inclined.
What do you want with him?
Just want to talk. Anybody got objections?
Yeah,
Who are you?
Ben Chafee. There ain't gonna be no talking.
He's done what he's done. He's gonna pay for it.
Ain't nobody gonna stand in the way. It's time you was riding out of here.
And if I don't?
Then I'll help you.
Climb off, Ben. We don't need no private wars here.
Where does he live?
Come on, boys.
He turned away from me and moved into the sheriff's office, leaving me alone to walk down the strangely quiet street. Towards the hills, the thunderhead was beginning to gather, moving in slowly. Near the end of the street, two men were building a coffin in front of a small house. This is where I'll find Mrs. Costin?
Why do you have to come meddling around here at a time like this? Can't you leave her with her to her sorrow?
Because he's a stranger, Bob boy. And strangers don't have no time for other people's sorrow.
Maybe you're right, old-timer. Maybe they got too many themselves.
Yes?
I'd like to talk to you, ma'am. Could I come in?
Can't you see this house is in mourning?
Ma'am, I know how you feel.
How can you know what I feel?
I had a brother once. Killed by this man, Burge.
Oh,
I'd like you to help me. It was 2 years ago my brother was killed. His wife would like the killer brought back to Abilene for trial. I'd like you to speak to your friends and let me take him away.
he didn't give my Fred a chance before he killed him. He's a cruel, ugly man. He's a killing man. You can see it in his eyes. I understand how that woman feels. I feel the same way. I want him killed, too. But here, where I can watch.
And will you tell me where he lives?
Don't tell him nothing, Mrs. Costin. You'll go warn him off.
Let him go if he wants. I say a man's got one life to live, and he's got a right to lose it any dang way pleases him. I'll tell you where you can find Lee Burridge.
A few miles outside of town where the canyon spread, I saw his hut. Set against a fire-blackened hill. There was no growing thing in the rocky ground except one sick, twisted tree. Stunted limbs reaching out empty, waiting. Hold it. Easy, horse. Easy.
Throw your gun down, you. Or I won't miss with the next one.
Lee Burge?
Throw it down.
I'm Jeff Mander. It was my brother Seth you killed in Abilene.
That's who you are. You've caused me enough trouble. Get out of here.
They'll give you a fair trial there. Stay here and you're going to be lynched for Fred Costin's killing.
Don't come no closer. Nobody's going to lynch me while I got this.
Listen to me. I don't hold no love for you. I shouldn't care what happens to you. But it took me 2 years to find you. Now I'm taking you out.
Don't come no closer.
Put up your gun.
I'm warning you.
Put up your gun! I knew he was shooting to miss. But I didn't know what would happen if I moved closer. So I got out of his canyon. It was clouding over heavy when I rode into town again. Maybe an hour and a half after I'd left the sheriff's office. The streets were still empty. But in a couple of the houses, I saw curtains move in windows and shadows duck away as I looked at them. I wondered if the old man had told them I'd gone to see Burge. And if they knew what they planned doing about it. Old-timer?
Yeah. I see you had your talk with Burridge.
You see.
You ain't wearing your gun. He get the drop on you?
Yeah.
Surprised he didn't kill you.
So was I. Did you tell them I'd gone there?
Yep.
What'd they say?
They said if you get Burridge first, they'd get you. They said you should go back where you came from while you still can.
I will after I settle with Burge. Where's the sheriff?
I went off with the boys.
After Burge?
Yep. They're going to wait till dark. Then they're going to stream up.
Why are they going to wait till dark? I want to be with them.
I thought you didn't like lynchings.
I don't, but I want to be there.
Well, I was told if you come back to town, you'd have to be with them. Don't make me use this, son. Just turn around and we'll join the rest of them.
All right.
And I'd suggest you stop your talking about Lee Burridge. From what I overheard, you're close to sharing a rope with him.
Autolite is bringing you Mr. Alan Ladd in A Killing in Abilene. Tonight's production in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Say, Harlow, did you have a good football coach?
The most marvelous mentor going, Hap. He used to say, "Men, be alive, full of pep," just like ignition-engineered Autolite spark plugs.
What a man.
Yeah, he used to say, "Give me teamwork," just like the teamwork of ignition-engineered Autolite spark plugs, with the coil, distributor, and all the other important parts of your car's ignition system. He was right, too, because Autolite spark plugs are the spark plugs designed by Autolite engineers, who design complete ignition systems used as original factory equipment on many leading makes of America's finest cars. That's why you can't buy better spark plugs for your car than Autolite.
Swell, Wilcox, swell. But let's get back to the coach.
The coach? Oh, yes. Well, whether you have a coach, sedan, or coupe, let your friendly Autolite spark plug dealer replace worn-out spark plugs with ignition-engineered Autolite spark plugs. And whether you choose the standard type or resistor type, you can be sure you're always right with Autolite.
And now Autolite brings back to our Hollywood soundstage Mr. Alan Ladd in Elliott Lewis's production of A Killing in Abilene, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
We rode out of Pleasant Valley, the old man and me. We rode fast without speaking through scattered herds of cattle on the lower rangeland. Rolling in from the east, the black clouds smothered the mountaintops. The old man still held the gun on me.
No use winding the horses. Won't be dark for a couple hours yet. Lynching parties get their guts after dark.
How come you went with them?
Waiting for you. I thought you'd be around. Besides, I seen the lynching once. Too much trouble.
Yeah.
You still figuring to take Burridge with you to Abilene?
I can try.
Ain't that going to be a mite daring without a shooting iron?
Might be.
I'm surprised after 2 years looking for him, you didn't shoot him when you found him.
That's not what I come for.
Why not? Killed your brother.
I made a promise to somebody.
His wife?
Yeah. Mine, too. What was it between Costin and Burge?
Well, I don't know. Nobody's seen much of Burridge in the past couple of years. Ever since Ben told us about how he was a killer, ugly man. Just ugly mean.
You said Ben told all of you Burge was a killer?
Yeah. Guess it's your brother he killed. That right?
That's right.
And now because of him, you might get killed.
But why?
They think you made it up about your brother. They think you're trying to take Burge away.
Do you?
Well, I haven't decided yet. We ford the stream here. I'll watch your footing. Sonny.
Yeah?
They haven't seen you yet. You still got time to get out.
You let me go? No. I've come this far, I'll finish it.
Well, I always said a man's got one life, and he's got a right to lose it any dang way pleases him.
Hello, Sheriff.
Thought you'd left Pleasant Valley.
We decided he ought to come with us where we can watch him.
You decided, Ben. What do you say, mister?
I'll tell you what he says, Sheriff. He says he wants Burge one way or the other. He has to join. That's what he says.
Get off of the horse, mister.
All right.
Now say that lie to me and I'll make you choke on it.
I want Burge as bad as the rest of you. I'd prefer him to stand trial, that's the difference. And I want this lynching if we can avoid it.
Why, you... Take your hand off your gun, Ben. He ain't armed.
Take it easy, Ben.
We decided what to do. You're here because I want you here. Burge killed Fred Costin in a fight, now we're going to settle it. Burge kills easy. I've seen him do it once before. He's not going to do it again.
You saw him kill my brother? I thought you didn't believe me.
I saw it. You need more of a trial than that.
I looked at the faces, angry, filled with hate. And I thought of the ugly man up in the canyon in the broken-down shack. I wondered if he knew what was waiting for him a mile or so away. It was quiet then. Storm clouds were quickening the end of the day. The party became shadows sitting nervously or smoking. Two of the men had some whiskey and were building their courage for the night's work.
It's nearly dark.
I didn't think you'd come.
I had to.
All the way?
My Fred's dead.
So's my brother.
My Fred was a good man. Never hit me, but he was a dark man with drink. It's like those two.
What was it between Burge and him?
We lost some chickens. Fred said that man stole them. When he came to town for supplies, Fred and him got to fighting. That man hated him and beat him. Fred was terrible hurt. Afterwards, everybody laughed and made jokes.
They laughed at their friend?
Oh, it was man laughing, no harm, but to a dark man like Fred, it was bad. He swore to get even. That was last Saturday. He went in to drink.
And didn't come back?
We all thought he rode out someplace for shame.
Why do you think Burge killed him?
They were all talking about it.
Who was?
All the men, Saturday night. They said Fred and that man were arguing.
Who heard them?
Ben did. When Fred didn't come back, we all knew that man had killed him. He did, and he's going to pay for it.
Who found the grave, ma'am?
Ben did. I'm sorry for your brother's wife. But it's got to be this way. Just like the Holy Book says. An eye for an eye.
Let's go, boys. It's time to ride.
We rode to the widening of the canyon, dismounted, and went the rest of the way to the hut on foot. We took one horse with us.
He's there, all right. There's a light inside.
Hold up, boys. Bob, you, Jim, and Need'll come with me.
Right, Sheriff.
We'll bring him out. The rest of you stay here.
What's the idea?
You're too quick tonight, Ben, and giving too many orders. You stay.
Still trying to get him away, son?
I might.
You're like an Indian I knew once. Had to shoot him 5 times before he knew he was dead.
What do you want here?
You know what we want, Burridge.
Get out of here. Get off my land.
You come outside quiet like. We don't want no trouble.
Trouble, eh? I ain't asking for trouble.
You asked for it when you killed Fred Costin.
Costin? Well, who killed... I didn't kill him.
Save your breath while you still got it.
Come on. Oh, let go. Let go of it.
Look out the lamp. Let her go up in smoke. He won't be using it anymore. I'll kill you. I'll kill you all for this.
You done your last killing. Get that rope over that limb.
Is this your doing, Ben?
Shut up. Tie his hands, Bob. I'll hold him.
You're gonna blame this one on me, too, Ben? Shut up, I said.
He didn't do it. He didn't do it.
Let it go, son. You can't stop him now.
I gotta talk to him before they do. He didn't do it. Now I know it.
Wait a minute. Take my gun.
Thanks. The flames in the shadows flicked over the ugly man's face. The rope was around his neck. He knew he was going to die. As I came near him, I could see in the light there was no fear in his eyes, only hate. He lifted onto a horse. The rope was tightened. He was ready to be lynched. Then he saw me.
One request, Sheriff.
What, Burridge?
Let me talk to him a minute.
The stranger here?
For a minute.
No more talking. Kick that horse out from under him.
No, don't, Bob, not yet. Let him talk.
Why do you think I killed your brother?
They're trying to get away with something, Jake.
Shut up, Ben. Let them have their say.
Why? We found your pouch near my brother's grave. Your name on it. And tonight Ben told me he saw you do it.
I didn't. I wasn't with Ben that night. Ben wanted to drink, and I didn't. He left me. Took my pouch with him.
What does it matter about his brother? It's Fred Costin we're hanging him for.
I didn't kill Fred Costin either. Listen, mister, I didn't kill your brother.
He's talked enough. He killed Fred Costin. I told you that.
What about it, Burge?
I didn't kill Fred Costin.
He's a lying skunk. Let's get it over with.
I say let him talk.
Where'd you get that gun, mister?
How did you know where Fred was buried, Ben? How did you know where Fred was buried? Mrs. Costin says you found the grave. How'd you know where it was?
Answer him, Ben.
You told me where it was, Ben.
I saw him burying poor Fred. That's how I knew.
If you saw the burial, why didn't you stop Burge then?
Wasn't none of my business.
But it is now. What made you change your mind so fast?
Stay away from that horse, Ben. Get up. Cut him down. You, Bob, cut him down.
I think you'll be coming back to Abilene with me, Ben.
You think so?
You all right, son?
Yeah. Burge?
He'll live. Rest easy, son. You done a good job. But you ain't going to keep your promise about your brother's killer. There's no sense taking Ben Chaffee back to Abilene. We'll bury him here.
Suspense, presented by Autolite. Tonight's star, Mr. Alan Ladd.
Say, Wilcox, any standouts on your team?
Why, yes, Hap, more than 400 of them.
400?
Sure. The more than 400 products made by Autolite for cars, trucks, planes, and boats in 28 plants from coast to coast. These include complete electrical systems used as original factory equipment on many leading makes of America's finest cars. Coils, distributors, generators, voltage regulators, starting motors, wire and cable, and electric windshield wipers. All engineered to fit together perfectly, work together perfectly, because they're a perfect team. So, friends, don't accept electrical parts supposed to be as good. Ask for and insist on Autolite original factory parts at your neighborhood service station, car dealer, garage, or repair shop. And remember, you're always right with Autolite.
Alan Ladd will soon be seen in Paramount's Technicolor production, Branded. Next week on Suspense, Mr. Dennis Day, a star of Christmas for Carol. And in weeks to come, you will hear such famous stars as Cornel Wilde, Ezio Pinza, and Ginger Rogers, all appearing in tales well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Suspense is produced and directed by Elliott Lewis, with music composed by Lucien Morawek and conducted by Lud Bluskin. Portions of this program were transcribed. A Killing in Abilene was written for Suspense by Gil Dowd and Anthony Ellis.
And remember, next week on Suspense, Mr. Dennis Day in Christmas for Carol.
You can buy Autolite Stateful batteries, Autolite Standard Type or Resistor Type spark plugs, Autolite electrical parts at your neighborhood Autolite dealers. Switch to Autolite. Good night.
Better production means better living. That ideal has given America the world's highest standards of living. Learn how you can help to improve our economic life. For the free booklet, The Miracle of America, write Box 10, Times Square Station, New York City. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Very interesting story, and I can honestly say I haven't seen a revenge western quite like it. This particular show was quite popular back in the day and was rewritten for the television version of Suspense in 1951. I think my favorite moment in the show was the gunfight. You know, that moment when everything fell silent while we waited for the outcome of the battle? Who was shot? That's what went through my head. What went through yours? The main actor for our story was Alan Ladd. In a 1961 interview, Ladd was asked, "What would you change about yourself if you could?" He replied tersely, "Everything." Alan's life story is a sad one. In a nutshell, it's full of being bullied, sadness, and probable suicide, although his death was listed as accidental. He was an amazing actor, good-looking and talented. His greatest movie? Shane. It is a testimony to his skills. And now this. The date is October 31st, 1952, and this is A Moment in Time. A BBC broadcast from Frankenstein's castle didn't go quite as they planned it would. The American Forces Network sent their reporter to the castle for a remote broadcast. I'm going to let you listen to the results.
In late autumn of 1952, the American Forces Network made the front page of the London Times and caused a sensation across Europe with a special Halloween program. Program director Hunt Downs asked for 3 volunteers among the AFN announcing staff. He took them and a couple of engineers to the old Frankenstein castle near Darmstadt. They arrived at the dismal, fog-shrouded castle just before midnight, which was airtime. The announcer explained that the myth of the Frankenstein castle claims Dr. Frankenstein's monster returns every 100 years. And he added, "This is the night." Each of the 3 announcers was given a walkie-talkie and a penlight flashlight and sent to different parts of the castle to report on what they saw and heard. There was no script. It was completely ad-lib. And what a psychological experiment. Announcer Carl Nelson's assignment was to enter the Frankenstein family crypt, far beneath the old castle. He was told he'd be the first man to go down there in decades. What he didn't know was that the show's producer had set up a statue in the center of the crypt, and at the height of Nelson's self-induced fear, the producer pulled a string and toppled the statue. The following was aired just as it happened.
You and I together are going to see what is in the old tomb. We're going to shut the door behind us. And right now, all 700 years of the history of this castle comes out in the view as we stand here in almost utter darkness, scraping our feet to watch our way. And we actually see nothing as yet, as our eyes have not become accustomed to the darkness, as this little flashlight does not throw out very much light. If the monster were in here, if such fable be true, he could be right next to us. We have knocked over something here that... Oh, excuse me just one second, but what... It seems like this is some type of a mache, maybe something that... Oh, when that fell, ladies and gentlemen, you can imagine what ran through our mind. It seemed like some type of a... We're trying to kick it with our foot, something maybe that looks like a church window that may have been used in a burial service or something, and we're bending over to try to see it. Thank goodness it isn't. We can report it. It isn't alive or anything near being alive. We're shining our light up on the wall as we heard something. You'll excuse the gasp, but our light is fading, and it's on something that looks like a statue. Yes, it is just a statue, but an ungodly statue. We're kicking a chain. We're going to try to... This is ridiculous, ladies and gentlemen. We are scared because of what fell down on the floor here, but we're going to go up and examine this statue right now. It is a horrible-looking statue, much like the monster, perhaps something put here years ago, maybe the original mold. It is very eerie, to say the least, as this misty moon is coming through the window. But we don't believe in these things, and we're going to walk up and touch this to see perhaps what it could be made of. It may be wax or plaster. No, it couldn't. It seemed to move as we came up upon it. No, I felt this is ridiculous. No. It did move. That it's not wax. I'm getting out of here. Please, God, no. Help! Help, please, help! Please! Can't you hear me out there? No. No. No.
At this point, we should explain that Nelson tried to get out of the crypt only to find the door locked. He fainted. With the mic open, the crew rushed to his side. The last thing listeners heard was someone saying, "This thing has gone far enough. Let's get out of here." Back in the network's headquarters in Frankfurt, the switchboard was jammed by callers wondering if the AFNers did get away from the castle unscathed. They did, of course, but only after a good portion of Europe nervously shivered with Carl Nelson at the Frankenstein Castle.
That Sometimes pretty amazing, the things you find when you're searching the Internet archives. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And now, a jingle I think some of you will remember. It's a bit before my time.
I like Ike, I'll shout it over a mic, or a phone, or from the highest steeple. Yes, I like Ike, and Ike is easy to like. Stands alone, the choice of we the people, a leader we can call without political noise. He will lead us all as he led the boys. So let's take Ike, a man that all of us like, makes no deals, his favor can't be curried, and Uncle Joe is worried, 'cause we like Ike.
That is our podcast. I do have some good news about the Horror Express. Jason is good to go, and we will be recording the show. I don't have a confirmed date yet, but the subject will be on UFOs, and we are both looking forward to it. If you want to follow the podcast or the blog, it's easy to do. Just head to ronsamazingstories.com. There you find all the links you'll need. We are on Twitter, Facebook, iTunes, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and many other services. Pick one and do leave some feedback about the show. It really does help us to grow. Thank you for listening, and I hope you come again to find out what are Ron's Amazing Stories.
All of the vintage audio used in the podcast is believed to be in the public domain. Ron's Amazing Stories does not own the rights to any of the old-time radio used here. If you hold the rights to any of the shows played, please contact us immediately at ronsamazingstories.com.
This episode is brought to you by Playapod, the best cross-platform podcast app for iOS and Android. Just visit playapod.com and download it for free.